episode 36, people. We're coming at you, and today is a really, really cool one because it's not every day you get two legal podcasters in one place. In fact, there's not even that many podcasters around, so today is a really special one. I am being joined today, this lunchtime, by the delightful, and I can say that because I've met him in person, and he smells nice too, Rob Hanna. Please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you very much for that lovely, warm welcome, Becky. And yeah, it was a pleasure to meet you at one of our events. I love the work that you're doing. I love the value you're bringing to the legal and wider community. So it's a real pleasure to be here. And it just so happens 36 is my lucky number. So let's make this your best one yet.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So for those that don't know me, my name's Rob Hanna. I help lawyers find jobs. That's my day-to-day. I have a company called KC Partners. And within that company, I host the Legally Speaking podcast, which was born in 2019, which is now sponsored by the world's largest cloud-based legal technology company in Clio. And we talk all around legal careers, things in and around the law that can help people advance their careers and transform their careers. And I also sit on the board of a couple of legal technology businesses, most recently Case Guru, which is an exciting AI-first legal tech platform, which is basically helping people find a lawyer simply and also providing some leads for lawyers. And yeah, really excited to get in amongst it and try and add value to the legal community as much as I can.
Thank you. You have definitely practiced that speech, haven't you? That was very polished.
Well, I had to bring the goods for your show.
You did, yeah, absolutely. Oh, I was like, goodness, I am in the presence of an actual professional here, people. Goodness knows, it's all going to go horribly wrong. Let's kick straight off. Okay, so your Legally Speaking podcast, which I can see you've got some merch on as well, which is nice. For those listening today and not watching, Rob is wearing a very nice branded hoodie. It's in the top 1%. So how did that happen, do you think? Like, was it sheer luck? Was it your face? What was it?
Yeah, and look, merch is available to buy. Shameless plug, Legally Speaking podcast, our merch section. You can have a look. We've even got some woolly hats for winter. But in terms of why, it was really a business development strategy. So I mentioned in my introduction that I have a legal recruitment business. And I was very cognizant of the time when I launched that in 2016 that I needed to have something that could separate me from competitors. And podcasting way back when in sort of 2018, 2019 was still quite new, even more new in terms of the legal world. So I think there is an element of luck, but an element of getting the time right. You know, it was the right time to launch a show, do something different, do something disruptive over and beyond what a lot of people were doing in terms of maybe article writing, a lot of written format, and a lot of what I would have said quite sort of well-trodden media tactics. And so it really was a case of I got in early to podcasting, used it as a business development tool, which I can take all about that strategy if you'd like. And really, as a result of that, I've just made sure that we've been consistent from launching the show over till the modern day. And as a result of that, it's grown in its popularity. And as you very kindly mentioned, we're in the top 1% shows in the world. We're in 5,000 cities. As I mentioned, we're sponsored by Clio. We're off next week, taking the show global to Austin, Texas, for the largest legal technology conference as a media partner. We've done some amazing things. Had anyone from Carol Baskin from Tiger King when Netflix was the most watched show on there, and Tiger King, sorry, was on Netflix, through to Presidents of Law Society and everything in between. But it all comes back to what I call our topic of influence, of trying to add value to people who are trying to advance their career or get access to information that's going to be helpful to them for their legal career.
Wow, there is a lot to unpack there. But I think the part that I want to unpack is Carol Baskin, right?
Yeah.
Come on, tell me more about crazy Carol Baskin. Oh, I am fascinated by that woman.
Yeah, so look, it was quite interesting, and I don't want to give too much away in case people want to go and listen to that actual episode. But okay, in terms of what was interesting is, you know, my dealings with her, she came across as very competent, you know, very easy to deal with. And the episode, in terms of the content, obviously we're using the height of that at the time. It was locked down, and that really helped blow up the show in terms of sort of general popularity. But we've always been focused on the niche of obviously legal and careers. Was actually she's trying to change big cat laws within the US. So it actually comes from a place of trying to do good in terms of protecting big cats, and there's a lot of laws and legislations and work that still needs to be done to protect big cats. So that was kind of the crux of the conversation. But she did say, obviously, the way that Tiger King was shot at times and the angles and the way they kind of clipped her when it was out of shot, that made her look, perhaps as a lot of people might be thinking in terms of what they've seen of the show, how she came across. She had her own story of events and why she felt it wasn't the best representation of her, and why obviously, you know, that had its own discussion points in itself. But it was a lot of fun, really exciting episode. And I'd encourage people, if you're interested in big cat laws and you want to know a bit more about whether certain things did or didn't happen behind the scenes of Tiger King, then go and give it a listen.
Gosh, yes, I will definitely listen to that because yeah, she does absolutely fascinate me, and yeah, you're quite right. Very very clever editing in those parts make people seem a little bit perhaps more unhinged than they actually are, should we say? I'm not
Exactly.
sure. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Although I think Joe Exotic is definitely unhinged, whichever angle you put him in. So okay, so I know that you have done a lot of things in other industries as well. So
Yeah.
how do you think that's kind of shaped your legal recruitment business, would you say? What kind of key learnings have you had from other industries?
Yeah. So before I set up a legal sort of what we now call talent solutions and content creation, I had the benefit of recruiting and seeing other industries, as you referenced. So that was procurement and supply chain, that was
Mm.
energy, infrastructure, commodities. But I think it all comes down to the understanding of basically business, right? And my understanding of business, which I learned from my late grandfather, who ran a very successful law firm, is business is people. And I think the more that you can connect with people, and I say this very regularly, particularly on my show as well, we're no longer in this B2B or B2C world. We're in this H to H, the human to human connection. And I found through those various experiences of being in consulting, helping with their careers, it's a big decision moving a job. Maybe you've got significant others, you've got a young family. And the way I've always approached my craft is we don't place someone once, we place them for life and we build a relationship. And what I mean by that is you're not always going to be looking for a job, and regardless in any industry. But what I want to do is grow with you throughout your career. And so the Legally Speaking podcast, as one of our strategy was a touch point, right? It's a great way. We place someone as an early stage lawyer into their career. We can share relevant, practical, tactical, implementable content with that lawyer that's going to be beneficial for them for their career, because they're not going to be looking for another job in 6 months. But I don't want to be the person that works on transactions. I want to be the person that works on that human connection and actually amplifies their career and educates, entertains, inspires that individual. And so what I've learned is businesses all around people. Of course, we have lots of AI, and I'm an AI enthusiast, legal tech enthusiast. I'm in the world of tech. I'm all for it. But I think for those people that become exceptionally client-centered and get as close to their customers and people that they're dealing with and treat them with people, treat them with kindness, respect, and add value to them, they're the long-lasting people that are going to do very well in business. And that's what I've learned cutting across all my experiences to date. The more you can meet people where they're at and add value to them, the more successful you'll be.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you say you place people for life, that means that if you have that great experience with them and that great connection, and they will remember you for next time, or, in case somebody else they know wants to move and they go, this guy really helped me out. He was amazing. You should get in touch with him.
Exactly. And that's your walking, talking advert through organic relationship and authentic relationship building. You're not necessarily trying to sell anything. You're just coming from a place of value. And I feel like so much of modern sales or people trying to win deals, it's so forced and transactional. People feel pressured. Where if you build a natural, genuine connection, and by the way, this is why I'm a big believer in the personal brand and people bringing out their personal brand and their interests, and why LinkedIn is transformed and why LinkedIn have spent millions on actually transforming the platform to humanize the professional working world more. It's because you can get that connection with people. So you don't have to go into someone and say, hey, do you want this job? It's like, hey, I see you're a Tottenham Hotspurs football fan. I'm a big fan. What do you think about this? Or, hey, I see you're into pottery. Actually, I went to this craft store, last week and saw this pottery that is very similar to one that you've made. Like, I would love to know how there's so many ways that you can connect with people now through social media, online things available to you, that there's really no excuse for being sloppy in terms of building connection with people.
Yeah, I do agree. However, I would say that is a skill that you have and that I have, finding common connections with people. But it doesn't come easily to everybody, though, right?
No, but equally, we all have our strengths, and if there's areas that we need to improve, then that's why I'm a big believer and advocate of mentors. I've had a 360 board of mentors around me throughout my career, and to your point again around things that I've learned the importance of you can only learn what's in the walls inside of the walls. So what I mean by that, if you're in a job and you're learning from the same people every single day, then you run the risk of having groupthink. And what's important is having people outside of those walls who can challenge you, who can help you, who can offer careers advice, who can offer you lessons that they've learned, maybe shortcut some of the mistakes that they made for you. So I'm a big believer in having mentors, particularly if there's areas that you want to improve or there's things you're looking at. Very, very important to have the right people around you. And so I'm a big advocate for going out there, getting busy, having people who can really help you achieve your goals. And everyone has their own individual goals. Run your own race at your own pace. So whatever it is you're passionate about, make sure you go out and find the right people that can help you.
Yeah, I love that. And I am very much an advocate of investing in mentors as well. And I have a couple at the moment who bring me completely different aspects of my business. So I have, that kind of almost bro marketing approach, and then also a much more kind of feminine, holistic approach as well. And I love that because I get two completely different opinions and ways to run my business. And then I can kind of lean into what I feel is right. So yeah, definitely mentors all the way. We've had a funny comment come through. Scott
Yeah.
Simmons has been on. He's been on, of course he has.
So it's quite funny,
when did you
actually.
decide to change to becoming a Spurs fan, Rob?
It's quite interesting, actually. So Scott and I are good friends. I love Scott. I think what he does, he's definitely a fantastic toolbox for helping lawyers really become rainmakers, really knows his onions when it comes to all things business development. I've learned a lot from Scott. He's come onto my show. Great chap. I also knew he was here, so I thought Tottenham Hotspurs might relate. But the other point is, actually, I introduced someone to Scott for a separate business I'm an advisor to, which is an AI future radio show, because that business Air is now actually sponsoring Manchester 62, which is a football team over in Gibraltar where Scott lives. So yeah, Scott and I know a lot and have a lot of football banter and connection. Again, that's another point, isn't it? Around, how you can find some common ground or even connect people. And that was a good thing that we did. But yeah, good to see you, Scott. I'm still going to be a Liverpool fan till I die, but good to see you.
Thanks, Scott. Oh, I do love his input. And yeah, Scott's posts are incredible. I always like to interact with them because they've always got a nice bit of personality in them, which doesn't always happen on LinkedIn. So yeah, and that is just a reminder, actually, guys, to please drop your questions in for Rob or me. Love to hear from you. So yes, do that. So you were talking about placing people within roles and then continuing to give them education advice. And I know myself that it can be a challenge in the legal industry, coming across with those topics that can be entertaining and educational. How do you approach that?
Yeah, I think, look, you always put the customer or the end person in mind. So, what we do is a lot of listening. And I think social listening is really important as well. So, we listen to what people are asking questions or wanting information about. There's also a lot of resources available for you now online. You can go on something, for example, like answerthepublic.com, or you can go on Google Trends, or you can go on Keyword Planner, and you can get Google index data linked to actually what people are asking questions about, how to become a lawyer, how to, get promoted within a law firm, how to cross-qualify as a lawyer. So again, when we're thinking of creating content, we're using social listening through the social media platforms and seeing what the conversations are happening in the right sort of media outlets. And then we're also using data, because I think data is so important. Or anyone conducting business, if you're not actually analyzing some form of data sets and providing high quality content linked to that, you're probably going to miss where you need to be hitting. So, and the other part is obviously, we have the benefit of having a headhunting business where we're speaking to people day in, day out about their career challenges. Maybe they've been overseen for a promotion. Maybe they're being overworked. Maybe they don't like the culture they're involved in. Maybe they feel there's a lack of diversity, equity, inclusion. Maybe there's a lack of implementation of legal technology. So then you bring that content in to then provide super valuable content to your audience.
Yeah, and I think it translates across all aspects, really. I mean, all the articles I ever write are always user focused, right? So they always are about the problems or concerns or questions people might be having around that topic. And that is the way that you relate to people, again, bringing it back to the relations and makes people think, oh, okay, they've actually listened to me, or maybe that's really spooky because I was thinking about that and they've literally just answered my question. So yeah, even with all the AI generated content out there, I believe that content that answers users' questions will always win the most valuable and relatable stuff.
Yeah, look, I think there's a place for trying to, adopt new technology, which I just see AI as. But equally, it's a balance, isn't it? Because most people follow you, Becky, because of what's inside your wisdom, your expertise. And I would see you offering that, but AI can maybe help you amplify that, So that's the way I look at it. And Jack Newton, CEO of Clio, gave a really great quote when I was moderating an event at Canada House last week when he was over. And he said, AI is going to be a legal force multiplier. And I thought, what a great quote. This isn't about replacing lawyers. This is about increasing productivity. It's about increasing efficiency. It's about being better and allowing even more time to get closer to your clients and to your actual people that you're working with. And I just thought that just absolutely hit the nail on the head. And that's the way I look at it. AI is actually a productional, professional work amplifier for you if used correctly.
Definitely. And it's what I seem to be writing about all the time at the moment, because I have quite a lot of legal tech clients. And, there's that constant kind of, is AI going to replace our jobs? What are we going to be doing? And it's like, okay, you're not looking at this the right way. You need to look at how AI can actually help you, so you don't have to do those manual tasks anymore. So you've actually got time to go and do the lawyering, right? What you actually trained to do. So yes, see it as a force for good, that is for sure. And yeah, I certainly use it. If I am working with a client that I'm not that familiar with in their law, then I know that I can, get a really good overview of the topic, and at least that stops me from having to stare at a blank page for hours on end, and I've actually got something to start with, right?
Yeah. And look, this is the other thing which I think is very important and something I think deeply around for the Legally Speaking podcast. It is beyond easy now to set up a podcast. It is beyond hard to make sure you're consistently good and adding value. So what I mean by that, barriers to entry are very low. You can pretty much create an AI generated podcast now with AI generated content, with AI, go to openclips.com, can clip it up, put it out there. But it comes back to the point of what I think makes a successful podcast, which is really understanding your topic of influence. So for me, and hopefully I've made this message clear during this discussion, what I'm talking around is legal careers. My topic of influence is legal careers because it's a great kind of front hook in terms of connecting to my back end, which is my legal headhunting business. But the content I'm trying to produce is really trying to help people when it comes to their legal career. And so my advice to anyone, if you're thinking a podcast, just not in legal, think about that pain point that you are trying to hit within the market you're trying to serve, and double down on it. And niche is no longer good enough. I learned that recently at a recruitment conference. You need to be forensically focused. So swap out niche for forensic and really focus in on those 1 or 2 words that you want to deliver that pain point, and you will be successful. And regardless of how much AI generated things are out there, if you complement with AI, you'll be very, 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 very successful, because that's what people want. They want value add, not just sort of extra noise.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Forensic. Okay. We're replacing the word niche, which is good because that word has been very overused over the years, hasn't it?
Or niche, if for my US listeners.
Niche. Don't even get me started on the niche. It's ridiculous. I think every time I hear that, I just makes me just shiver a little bit. It's it's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. So, questions just come in from Scott again. We do have other viewers, I promise. What made you decide that podcasting was a good platform for you, Rob? And then we've got another question after that, but answer that first.
Okay, so there's 3 forms of what I call the WAV strategy. So you've got written, audio, and video. So my career has largely been around consulting, recruiting consulting. So a lot of the day in my life is speaking to people, right? Interviewing people, asking questions, really trying to get beneath people in terms of what motivates them, what are their challenges, what are they looking for. So I'm rubbish at writing, hence why I'm not a qualified lawyer. At the time, I wasn't too great at video, but I was pretty good at audio because I was on the telephone quite a lot of time talking to people and having conversations. So when podcasting was still quite new, where video podcasting wasn't really kind of erupted like it is today, and there's a whole strategy about YouTube and TikTok Shorts, Instagram Shorts, Reels, etc., etc., I played to my strength. So think about WAV strategy. What are you best at in terms of something you could focus on, and double down on it? And then I have to give credit to other people. So it was actually at the time, there's a lady who worked for me. I'll give her a shout out. She's actually at Linklaters now, called Hannah Foley. And she worked for me, and she said, Rob, we need to do something different. And I said, sure, yeah. What do you suggest? She's like, well, have you thought about podcasting? And I almost sounded like, what the heck is a podcast? Way back when. I was like, what do you mean? But I've always had a growth mindset. Be curious, listen to people. Upward management's really good. Like people to have the confidence to come to someone, an owner of a business, and actually say, look, you need to think differently. I've always been receptive to that. And I think if you're not receptive to that, you can restrict growth. And anyway, she said, look, I think we should do this. I think it'd be a great idea. And so we kind of ideated, sat down, brainstormed, even to like the name of the show. I then brought in a buddy of mine who had a recruitment podcast and got some counsel and advising from him. He runs the Recruitment Mentors podcast. I'm an investor and advisor in his business, as it happens. Great business. And so it was really, at the time, we wanted to do something different to stand out. I played to my strengths, and then we really went all in on trying to give it a go. And then the rest is history.
Wow. So this lady is actually to thank for your podcasting career. It's not you at all.
Well, in fairness, you give credit to people who deserve credit. And I'm a big advocate for that. And Hannah helped start the journey. There's 2 things that are very important: to start and to make sure you carry on going, but also make sure that you celebrate the wins along the way, because sometimes you get to a stage of a journey and you forget what you've actually done or you achieved, or you forget the people that helped you get there. And so it's very important to recognize those people and shine a light on them when they deserve their credit.
I completely agree. The follow-on question from Scott was, what was the moment when you realized that your podcast was really taking off? I mean, did people start coming up to you in the street and asking you to sign things, or, what
It's
happened?
almost like that to a world within this niche of legal. When people start calling you a legal celebrity, which I don't like, by the way, and I don't like legal influencer, but I think that, no, taking that aside, when people actually write to you or you go to events and you get introduced to you like that, it's nice in a way, but it's also, I want to make sure that I'm very values driven. So like my mission is to provide a thriving, more collaborative, kinder legal community. And that falls perfectly in line with our sponsor, Clio's vision and mission, which is to transform the legal experience for all. So I think really I knew the show was taking off when a legal tech unicorn business wrote to us, and actually a Centaur business, the first Centaur, which is over 100 million annual recurring revenue. And now, obviously, the world's largest, having raised 900 million, $3 billion legal technology company, got behind us. I knew that we were on to something. And that relationship took blood, sweat, and tears to sort of foster and develop. But it's a good way to really connect with people. And I have nothing but positive energy to say about Clio. I think they're tremendous. And we just got a great synergistic alignment. And so as a result of us both coming together, I knew that there was a real scope for it to go. I didn't know it would go as far as it's gone, but now I'm even more motivated to ensure we're the number one legal career show in the world, and we won't stop till we get there.
Incredible. Because I guess when you're doing something for yourself and you're providing value to your audience, and people are going, oh, do you know what? I listened to you today and that really helped me with X, Y, and Z. That's great. But then once you start getting recognized by those external tech giant coming to you and wanting to partner with you, I mean, yeah, that definitely must have been the moment.
But there's a real strategic lesson in there as well for people who might be starting out. As you get bigger, and you probably see this all the time, Becky, people reach out to you if you're producing content and it's valuable and you've built there's a difference between an audience and a community. And I did a post about this on the weekend. People can go back to my last 7 or 8 posts and they can see that. And I think it's very important people understand the power of a community. But I didn't just want to have any sponsor. It wasn't about just getting some money in. Again, think about, I'm not just transactionally trying to place people. I'm trying to build a relationship for life. So when we were approached by organizations and various different ones prior to Clio and then during the relationship with Clio, there was a real alignment because Clio is servicing small to mid-sized law firms. So my holding company, I mentioned KC Partners, the legal recruiting business, is working in that mid-market space. So there's a clear alignment in terms of the technology going in and the people. So there's a synergy there. And then, as I mentioned, the missions and the values and the way that the people conduct and go about business is equally aligned. So I was like, I'm proud to have that organization partner with us. And I'm proud of the fact of the quality of the service and the product that they're providing. And it complements tech and people. It just made a lot of sense. So there's a real strategic focus and a vision and a mission and a value focus. And that's why we went all in on that relationship. And that's why you've not seen it become a multi-partner show. We've not become, just taking on sponsorships left, right, and center, because we want to be very values driven and the value that we give to our audience.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same with me. I have people asking to sponsor every single day, and I'm like, no, you're not the right fit. Not really. I haven't had that yet. But I can aspire to that one day. One day. We've had a comment come through. I can't pronounce your name. I'm ever so sorry. Retitzo, maybe. But it's a lovely one. Rob, can I get you to be my mentor? How nice. I'm trying to find a way to monetize my skills or find a new role, but I feel like my geographic location is hindering me. I'm based in Botswana. I'm my country's first legal technologist, but legal tech is still a very big novelty. I'm also a certified Clio channel partner and an implementation consultant. What do we think to that?
I love that. Well, firstly, go to our Legally Speaking Club Discord. We've got an offline community. Happy to talk and engage there. If you just want to drop me a quick message, I can send you the link for that. Happy to do that. The fact that you're in Clio's ecosystem, Clio have one of the largest ecosystems out there. There'll be a lot of people that you can reach out to within that community to collaborate with. But are you producing content? Are you putting yourself out there? Are you telling your story? The fact that you mentioned you're the first legal technologist in your country, there's a story to unpack there. How have you got to that stage? What inspired you? Why started? What have been the challenges? What are you trying to do to help other people become legal technologists? How can you bring storytelling into your personal brand? So think about breaking down that journey into 30 bite-sized pieces of content, short, sharp, sub 30-second videos with some good quality text. Put that out on LinkedIn for 30 days. Work hard on that, and I guarantee you'll start getting noticed and get inbound leads and people wanting to talk to you. You've got to do the work. But it sounds like you've got a story. So make sure you bring out that storytelling piece in content, and I'm sure people connect with you. And as I say, if you join our Discord community, you send me some messages, I'll be happy to give you a bit more of my time and be an informal mentor.
Perfect. Oh, I hope that answers your question. And please let us know if there's anything else we can help with. We'll pop all the links in the show notes that are relevant. So perhaps if you let me know, well, what you'd like me to include, then we will do that. We've had Sophia on, Sophia Stancer. Thank you for your message. How important is LinkedIn in terms of promoting your podcast? Have you got any tips for those starting out?
Yeah, look, I have my largest following on LinkedIn. So I'm loyal to LinkedIn because it's where I first started. But again, there's method to the madness. LinkedIn is the largest professional networking site in the world. I've also had the benefit of being the first ever legal creator to be on the LinkedIn Accelerator program. I'm obviously a LinkedIn top voice, which is great. All of that good stuff is great. And it's great from an external validation and marketing perspective. But really, LinkedIn gives me access to the people that I want to be engaging with, the law firms, the lawyers, the entrepreneurs, the people that I would like to connect with. So LinkedIn has been very, very important for me, and also for the organizations and brands that I work with, because everybody knows this is where their ideal ICA, the ideal customer avatar, is sitting. So yeah, I've been very focused on LinkedIn. I've been very consistent on LinkedIn, but I'm not just focused on content. There's a thing called the social selling index, which a lot of people should go and Google your social selling index. And ideally you want to look at the 4 categories that which categorizes. I'm in the top 1% for all 3 of those categories, because it's important that you're building the network, and you're building the network that's relevant to the audience you want to be talking to. So using some of the LinkedIn tools behind the scenes, you can really see whether or not you're building the right kind of network for you, because ultimately as you grow your show, you want to make sure. And by the way, LinkedIn is doing a good job of trying to give you more data. I talked about earlier the importance of having good quality data. If you look at the back end of mind, it'll be lawyers, law firms, legal businesses, etc., and it can break it down for you so you know where you're targeting. So LinkedIn is so important for me. I think it's the best site for getting access for people, but I also believe in thinking about other platforms. So there's a platform probably most of the people here wouldn't have heard of, called Entra, which is a future of work platform where I've built a following. I'm probably only around 10,000 followers there, but that's which got a lot of Web3. It's got a lot of sort of future AI entrepreneurs at. So I'm also playing in what I call the future of work, which is the future of LinkedIn platform, because I want to also make sure I'm talking to that next generation of individual, on top of obviously the other platforms, which are very video intense focused, like your TikToks, like your Instagrams, etc., etc. But LinkedIn, very, very important. Be consistent, network, find the right people, and have a good commenting strategy, because if you comment with people that are relevant to your industry, that's going to amplify your reach as well.
Yeah, completely agree. Now, you mentioned the social selling index, which I am aware of, but perhaps our audience are not. So do you want to just give a really brief overview of how to hit those categories?
Yeah, basically it just monitors your performance, if you like, and gives you a rating of how you compare within your industry and the roles that you do. And it's on a scale of 0 to 25, and you have a sort of number. And really, again, don't be too transfixed on this, trying to improve this like daily. It's taken over an aggregate period of time, but it's a good barometer to follow. Actually, I should caveat this, because I think you need to be a premium member to get access to that. So I'm not 100% sure. Yes. It used to be a free metric. It may now be a premium. So I want to caveat that, because I don't want to provide misinformation. But the premise is it's a really good way to find out how you're performing against other people on the platform within your industry, in your sectors, and how you're standing out. And that could be in terms of engaging with your audience, in terms of your personal brand focus, all of these different things. So it's really good metric to use. And also, if you're trying to attract brand deals, you're trying to have conversations with people, you're trying to get onto webinars to be seen as a thought leader, you've actually got some justifiable data to provide to people in terms of, hey, I rank in the top 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever it is. It's just another good metric to have that gives you credibility when you're trying to start conversations with people.
And I think it just reminds us as well that it's not just a case of posting and then leaving. Engaging with other accounts, talking to people, and doing all of those things are really, really important for building up your brand. So you can just check how you're doing with that if you do have a premium membership, as we mentioned. Anonymous LinkedIn user, I'm a fan, Rob. Woo! Smiley face.
I've told my mum to get off LinkedIn. I'm joking. I really appreciate it.
She keeps cropping up, doesn't she, everywhere?
No, genuine LinkedIn user, I'm sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. Really show your love. One of the best things to help a podcaster out is to go to Apple or Spotify, give us some 5 stars and a nice little review about what you like about our show. That would mean the world to us, because it just helps with discoverability, and everybody wins. So yeah, as a fan, I would love to say thank you for your support, but if you can support us, we'd appreciate it.
Great. So I've just got one last question for you, unless anybody else comes in with any more. What's next for Legally Speaking podcast? I mean, where are you going next?
Yeah, and you know what's exciting? We're still just getting started on this journey. Like, I've got a new lease of life. I feel like podcasts can sometimes, you can get stuck in the FUD. And, you know, because our mission is so aligned with Clio and what we do, just some of the mini series we've got coming up, some of the guests we've got coming up, and a whole new rebrand. People should check out a John Lindsay parody video. Follow John Lindsay. He's great. We did a parody video together. Like, we spent a lot of time on, you know, like the merch, the quality of the merch, like we're 10xing everything that we're going to be doing. And we're going to make sure that we hit that goal of being the #1 global legal podcast in the world. It's great that we're a 1% ranked show, but we want to be that authority for our lane within legal. And it's not just to have bragging rights, it's to show that actually this is a genuinely valuable piece of content and tool that has done something good for the legal industry. Because my grandfather ran a very successful law firm in the 1950s. His certificates here are above my wall, a painting of his old office there. And the whole reason I got into legal is I wanted to continue that family legacy. And people who came to the GBLO where we met Becky would have heard a bit about that story. And that's what gets me up every day and gets me inspired and wants to keep that family legacy, but do it in an online digital format that's relatable, traceable, and hopefully verifiable and helpful. So yeah, we're still just getting started. Some exciting things, a lot more events, a lot more things kicking off. So please do just follow us, get involved with the community. And if you've got ideas for collaboration or you've got suggestions or things you think would be valuable for us, we'd love to hear it. We're all about community.
Love it. And I loved hearing about your grandfather's story. That was super interesting at GBLO it wasn't last year. It was actually this year, wasn't it? It was just back in the summer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It feels like a year ago, but yeah.
It really does. It really does. So yeah, I did love learning about that. And that other highlight was, of course, the mushroom soup. If you know, you know.
So, yes. I've requested that for next year.
Incredible soup. We just kept talking about it. We're like, why are we just talking about soup? What on earth is wrong with us? Surely we've got other interesting things to talk about. Today has been a blast. Thank you so much, Rob. It's been a pleasure to have an actual professional on my show. No offense to any of my other guests. So we're having a break next week, but the week after I've got Emma Gill coming on, and she is going to be talking about what you didn't know about being a private client solicitor. And she has got some tales to tell, let me tell you. So definitely get involved with that one. So yeah, from me and from Rob, thank you so much. See you soon.